Hi, let's talk about allocating overhead. So hopefully you have this worksheet open. This is your worksheet 1. It's going to have 3 tabs. In this video, we're going to talk about allocating based on the plant-wide rate. In the second tab, you'll have what you need when we talk about the departmental rate. And in the third tab, we're going to go through some basic activity-based costing calculations. When we get to the more complex activity-based costing example, there will be a second worksheet. All right, so the plant-wide rate, that's basically what we've been using, right? We added up all of our factory overhead, divided by direct labor dollars, and that was our plant-wide rate. In this one, we're going to look at it 2 ways. We'll have where our denominator is direct labor hours this time, and we're also going to use machine hours, just so we can see how it would be different. Okay, so the first step is we need to add up all of our overhead costs for the entire facility. So in the first example, we are making cupcakes, and we have 2 departments, baking and frosting. Okay, so all of our overhead is going to be everything that's been put in baking and everything that's coming out of frosting. Okay, so our total overhead for our entire factory is $352,000. All right, our total direct labor is just going to be all of the direct labor hours that is in baking plus all of the direct labor hours in frosting. And our machine hours, if we decide to allocate based on machine hours, is all of the machine hours in baking plus all of the machine hours in frosting. Now you're probably saying, gosh, if you're adding all of this stuff up anyway, why don't you just give us one number? I mean, we're using the exact same example for plant weight and department, so you can see the differences, and that's why I've split them up. Normally, we would just give this to you as one big number. Okay, so if we're using the plant-wide rate and we decide to allocate based on direct labor hours, then our rate will be our total overhead divided by our total direct labor hours. And we would allocate at a rate of $11 per direct labor hour. So for every direct labor hour you would use on a product, we would allocate $11 of factory overhead. All right, that's if we have a very manual process. If instead we have a more automated process and we're like, nope, we're going to allocate based on machine hours, then once again, we would take our total factory overhead divided by our total machine hours, and we would allocate at a rate of $16 per machine hour. All right, so if you think you've got what we're doing, go ahead and turn this video off and finish the rest of this page yourself for the coffee roasters and the peanut butter sandwich makers. If you're like, let's go through it again, Professor Black, then let's do that. I'm going to continue right now, and you can always come back and check your work. All right, so now we're coffee roasters. We have roasting and grinding. All right, so our total costs will add up $450,000 from roasting plus $300,000 from grinding. We're going to calculate our total direct labor hours, which is $45,000 in roasting and $30,000 in grinding. And our total machine hours is $100,000 in roasting and $100,000 in grinding. Now let me just put up here. You're probably going to have picked your denominator early on, so you wouldn't have to do this for both direct labor hours and for machine hours. You would have already picked something. We're just kind of looking to see how it's different depending on what we pick, but normally you would only do one or the other. All right, so if we decide to allocate factory overhead based on direct labor hours, then we take our total factory overhead of $750,000, divide it by our total direct labor hours of $75,000, and we get $10 per direct labor hour. So for every hour of direct labor that goes into our product, we will allocate $10 of factory overhead. If instead we decide to do it based on machine hours, then we'll take our total factory overhead of $750,000, divide it by our total machine hours of $150,000, and we would allocate $5 for every machine hour used on the product. The machine could be anything. It could be a robot, it could be a roasting oven, it could be a grinding machine, doesn't matter, it's just machine hours. Okay, let's go through the last one. In this last one, we have 3 departments now: bread baking, peanut butter making, and sandwich assembly, because we are making peanut butter sandwiches. There may be an option for jelly out there, but that's not in our process today. So the first thing we're going to do is add up all of our factory overhead. So that's going to be the $700,000 in bread baking, plus the $900,000 in peanut butter making, plus the $800,000 in sandwich assembly. Then we're going to add up our total direct labor hours. So 700,000 hours in bread baking, plus 300,000 hours in peanut butter making, plus 500,000 hours in sandwich assembly. And our total machine hours is going to be 200,000 in bread baking, 900,000 in peanut butter making, and 100,000 in sandwich assembly. So look at this really quick. Based on these totals, this tells me that bread baking is a very manual process. They've got 700,000 direct labor hours and only 200,000 machine hours. Compare that to peanut butter making, which I think is a very automated process, because they only have 300,000 direct labor hours and 900,000 machine hours. Same thing, sandwich assembly seems to be pretty direct labor, pretty labor focused, a manual process, because they've got 500,000 labor hours and only 100,000 machine hours, okay? So you can kind of see when we get to departmental which way some of these things are going to go. But for now, we're not there yet, so let's just keep rocking. So if we decide to allocate with a single plant-wide rate based on direct labor hours, we would divide our factory overhead dollars by our direct labor hours, and we would get 1.6. So for every hour of direct labor, we would allocate $1.60 fixed or factory overhead. If instead we decide to allocate based on machine hours, then we'll take our factory overhead costs of $2.4 million divided by 1.2 million machine hours, and we'd end up with a rate of 2. So for every machine hour that goes into a product, in this case a sandwich, we would allocate $2 of factory overhead. All right, that's going to wrap us up for the plant-wide rate. In the next video, we're going to talk about the departmental rate. I'll see you there.